Nanimupopithe Oshiwana Enialiange or Patrick Sam Okuzako NBC. We are coming to you live from the regional capital, that is Enana here in the Ohangwena region, in preparation of the State of the Region address this morning that is going to be delivered by the newly appointed governor, that is Kadiva Hamutumwa. She will be giving her maiden address as she's moved to the region to serve the people of this place. I'm joined this morning to give us a pre-analysis of the significance of the SORA and subnational governance, and particularly the role that the Office of the Governor can play in bringing services and development closer to the people. I'm joined by Dr. Lucas Shikolo, who is the head of the Enana Namibian University of Science and Technology campus, also a political development analyst. Thank you very much, sir, for making time out, Doctor, this morning to join us on our pre-analysis.
Thank you so much, Patrick. Good morning, Ohangwena residents and the viewers out there.
Let's maybe just start, by looking at the significance of the state of the region when it comes to issues of development. Because I think essentially, I like this concept of, we are part of a Republic of Namibia, which essentially means the people of Namibia. And so what is the status of the people of Namibia in the Ohangwena region when it comes to development?
Well, that's a good question. Development is a broad concept. One can approach it from different angles. But of course, Ohangwena, in the context of Namibian region, is one of the poor regions with great opportunities that need to be explored. One of the populous, second biggest, with about 337 plus or minus 1,000 people. And in terms of size, we are second from the bottom. I think smallest being Oshana, and Ohangwena comes in second from the bottom. That explains now the level or the extent to which you would expect to have different or variety of different social issues when it comes to development. Education is one, of course. We have infrastructure, development that needs to be really touched on, and literacy when it comes to some bankable, ideas, when it comes to entrepreneurship and all kind of things. But in terms of development, really, there is more that we can do as a region. And the problems are there. We have to take them as they are from a realistic point of view. But I have hope and trust that, of course, the government of the day should be able to deliver.
Okay. In terms of the Ohangwena region, we know that there's about 337,729 people according to the 2023 census. About 11.2% of the country's population resides in the region. Like you said, it's got the second largest population after the Commerce region. And interestingly, 85% of the region is classified as a rural. So already when you speak about development and challenges, within a rural context, if we had to do a SWOT analysis, looking at, what are the strengths of a rural community? What are some of the weaknesses? Where are the opportunities? And what are some of the threats? Give us a SWOT of the Ohangwena region, Doctor.
It's public knowledge. We have the much talked about water aquifer, underground water, that needs to be exploited, if I were to put it that way, or harvested for developmental, agenda, irrigation, and for people, consumption. We have quite a number of, challenges. Ohangwena, while small, on the eastern side of the region, the terrains, we have got sandy roads. And the connection, or the roads, connecting Ohangwena to Oshkoto, going the other side, that's a challenge. So we have some road infrastructure challenges, really, especially when it comes to the eastern side of the region. And that impacts a lot of development, plans, because to get there, also for people to have access to whatever is available. So that is one. But of course, access to potable water, perhaps time has come now that, of course, we try to harvest, this water, whether we are to drill different boreholes in different places, or to drill some central, boreholes and then through the water pipelines, connect the regions. I'm sure the government can touch base on that so that we open, these doors of people in the communal, areas to have some irrigation sort of projects because food security, that's very, very important. And of course, with the youth, because we have unemployment, that's a national thing, but Ohangwena is not left out, especially with our population.
It's about 51.9%.
That's
about half, 1 in 2.
That's very significant. Young ones, of course, need employment, but are there opportunities? Yes, there are opportunities. Do we have available employment opportunities that one can be employed? Not really, but it does not mean that we cannot create, our own employment, and that's where education, can play a role.
But interestingly, when you say the link, when you say education can play a role, institutions like yourself, do we find that we're still continuing this notion that we'd earlier spoken about in some of the SORAs, that when decisions are made and in terms of governance, when there is a gap in terms of, say, impacting people's lives, that's a reflection on the governance and the decision-making power that we have. So is it that we are working in ecosystems versus ecosystems, and how do academic institutions like yours assist regional councils, local authorities, offices of governance make data-driven or evidence-based decisions that can really look at how to prioritize the development agenda?
If you are to compare the opportunities with educated people versus uneducated people, if I have to put it that way, uneducated people seem to have ways around finding means to survive. And for some reason, one can say when somebody gets educated, those opportunities disappear. It's a very funny scenario. When people are educated, when they are certified, they think then they cannot do certain things. And we can play a role, from education, especially when it comes to soft skills. Education should play a role of transforming one to think differently, but more especially to think in the context of what is available, because there are opportunities. And that talks to innovation and also bankable entrepreneurial, ideas, which currently, when it comes to our youth, it's somehow not so sufficient. So education, they can play a role there. That's the literacy that people need, because it does not mean that when you have a degree, then you cannot start from ground zero. Everyone wants to be employed, but there are opportunities at ground zero.
But even those opportunities, when we're speaking about employment, I mean, from a statistical perspective, we would look at, for instance, like a normal distribution curve and say, let's distribute the youth from, say, educated ones to the ones that are less educated. But let's talk about ownership when we're speaking about, for instance, small and medium-term businesses, SMEs. How do we create an enabling environment, not just for employment, but for opportunities of ownership when it comes to, for instance, agribusinesses, when it comes to opportunities within creative industries, for instance? So how do we become a culture where we produce more than we consume?
Maybe before I answer that one, we know recently the government has put money aside, at about 250 something million, close to 270. That's meant to somehow touch base with the youth in terms of supporting them with their ideas and those kind of things. And I hope this does not end up like, the sort of, if I had to call it, that empowerment, scheme that we had from independence, where you would find Patrick here is supported with something that they don't believe in. They know nothing. I want to believe now that, of course, it's the time to go out and look at, what youth are busy with.
Okay.
Perhaps strengthen, their literacy, and make sure that whatever they are supported, with is something that they really want to get on with, and that then will talk to tangible, projects.
That's an interesting suggestion that you're giving, to say that the assessment of people that give access to these youth opportunities should not just be the ones that look good on paper.
Yes.
That we should actually go out there and look at the track record and see the actual work, and because sometimes maybe the rural communities are not literate, but they're able to farm.
Yeah.
But how does your university, how can you guys play a role in terms of ensuring that communities that are doing the work but that don't look good on paper, the instruments of AI and all these things, so how do we bridge that gap?
Besides doing that, within the confines of our lecture halls, public institutions, such as Namibia University of Science and Technology, through regional councils, we are supposed to be stakeholders and partners. We have the expertise, especially when it comes to soft skills, and they have got the physical, 4x4s to take us, where the youth are. But it's also very important, talking about AI, which is really becoming a disturbance, but it's supposed to be a supporting mechanism. Very unfortunate people are using it, and in the process, it's replacing their thinking, capacity. It is supposed to support us, but not to replace, human thinking. So we have got mechanism, in place at the university to make sure that, of course, this is not robotic, this is real, and we can assess, beyond what is on paper. Let's go out there, we find, youth projects, and really make sure that, of course, these projects are just not there to make money. Of course, we know money is one of the targets, but it's there actually to make a contribution to the economy. Because in the process, you also have to employ fellow youth, you also have to produce, and we are more interested in our products, because we need to, as a country, be so sustainable, whether it's food. That is something that we really have to tackle. And we have to be organic, so that this not artificial, but this genetically modified, seeds, it's something that really we must not support. We have to grow things from the organic, point of view. Yeah.
The other expectations, you spoke largely about youth, you spoke about education. Speak to us about what are the expectations from generally the Office of the Governor. A lot of the times what people are saying is that the role, for instance, when we speak of agriculture, would be that youth might require land, but that land is administered by, for instance, traditional authorities. How do we bring those various stakeholders together to say, can traditional authorities also have a development agenda? What's your insight in terms of that? How do we make that connection between saying every stakeholder has a shared responsibility when it comes to the development agenda? NDP 6 has just been launched, but particularly looking at the link between traditional authorities and development.
Leadership and management elements that are common to both, coordination, and I think the newly appointed governor has already started, engaging different stakeholders, and through this coordination efforts, then one can break through, so that the traditional authority understands, the central government, agenda, and then of course on the other side we've got youth that need to be empowered. Ownership of land is something that perhaps needs a revisit in Namibia. It's a reality out there. How much does the government, own? And if the government owns land, is that just on paper, or it's in reality? There is reality versus, paper.
Talk to us a little bit more about that.
If you go to the commercial side of things, the other side of the red line, how much does government, own land? We know most of these ones are privately owned. You come down, to the communal side, then of course this land is in the hands maybe of a traditional authority and all that. Not necessarily. Of course the government owns it, through them, but how much are these, traditional authority, how much are they doing that really promotes, the agenda of the government? And that's the way we need to hold hands, so that we know this is public space and it should serve the residents, it should serve Namibian people, and even the neighboring countries. We need to come up with generating food or income generating or product generating projects. So
in you acknowledging that there needs to be a greater enabling environment in order to ensure that the development agenda is met, we looked at the role of traditional authorities, but also what's the responsibility of private sector?
Private sector primarily, because that's where money is, they should fund projects. And private sector, because with money, then you have an advantage to have the right expertise. Avail this expertise so that they can also support government projects, and even go through all these traditional authorities to provide the much needed literacy. When I'm talking about bankable entrepreneurial ideas, look back from independence. We have quite a number of things that we are using now, and we never had such things in Namibia. And please don't tell me that we have run out of ideas. There is always an opportunity somewhere out there. And our people must learn from what is happening outside, but think in the context of the land of the brave. And of course, that is now where private sector also can play a role, whether it's through funding or availing, expertise and all that.
Because that would be interesting to see, as we mature in our democracy, and if, we're looking at an accountability mechanism here at a decentralized level where the office of the governors are speaking at a regional level, it'll be interesting to account also what the private sector has done. And for instance, what civil society organizations have done to give us a really holistic understanding of the real status of the region, just not from a public perspective or from a public lens, and looking at the status of the region in that regard. So, in asking that question, Doctor, how do we strengthen these accounting exercises? Particularly, what I'm interested in is, from an academic perspective, this top-down and possibly more in the future, more bottom-up and more, for instance, issues around participatory budgeting, where we ensure that the citizens are able to kind of be part of the nation building.
From a realistic point of view, I support more of a bottom-up approach, people's approach, I call.
But it's not the easiest, right?
Not the easiest, but it's practical and it's doable.
Okay.
With political will, that really is doable. Because we know money or funding will never be enough. But that should not be the reason why we cannot implement certain things. Let's talk to the people downstairs. A typical example, if you are in charge of a certain constituency, and maybe water point is, let's say, 5 kilometers away, and the government, through the available, budget, can only buy pipes, but they cannot pay engineers or labor, for people to dig, where the pipe should be laid and those kind of things. If you talk to people and say, look, you guys need water, yes, but the available budget can only buy pipes and connect us and those kind of things. Wait for the next financial year so that we get money also for digging and those kind of things. Believe me, you have solution out of that. Engineers will volunteer to do some engineering work, and the community will also volunteer to do that. And if there's a road construction, let's say, for example, we have to get, this soil that we are using from somewhere. And in the process, there's this clay that people might need in their fields. Once you involve the community, not only that you are constructing, you are building a road, but you are also improving fertility of somebody's land. So that's how people should hold hands.
But that's an almost paradigm shift in terms of how we, do development. That would almost necessitate like a cultural revolution in terms of how we as Namibians approach the issues of development.
Exactly. As the president, puts it, to say it's not business as usual. That calls for a renewed way of doing things, and we need to be proactive. It's not just business as usual that clinics, maybe in some remote areas, only open Monday to Friday. People don't only get sick on weekdays. And in those areas, there are no means for transport. We need to take that one as an unusual thing, and we need to change it. People must work even on Saturdays. If you look at most of the roads that we have, these graders, that are leveling, these gravel roads, let's say, for example, they work Monday to Friday. But what happens on Saturdays? And I think that's when the road is more quiet. And you ought to be doing some work so that then comes Monday, people can be productive in terms of,
So business unusual doesn't mean just a principle.
Exactly.
It's how do we make it practical?
Yes. Sometimes I challenge my students at the university, those that are doing, let's say, business management. I say, look, you do business management here, you graduate. Then you go in the industry. You work for this business, they open just between 8 and 5. But primarily, over 90% of your customers are people that are working. Are you saying they must leave their offices to come and buy? And we have actually, adopted that thing, and we don't know that it's not good for business. We need to open the market for people that are working. This thing of 8 to 5 is not really doing us a favor.
It's interesting. Somebody was saying the similar solutions of addressing the traffic issues in Windhoek. It's like, why does everybody need to go in at 8 and come out at 5? So yeah, I think getting it back to how the office of the governor can lead and set a precedent for this new innovative way of governing. What are some of your tips to the governor?
The governor is young and experienced. He's coming from all the ranks, politically and leadership, and she has the right expertise, coming from NEMPower, not NEMPower, but NEMOTA, with human resource, background, and her leadership is tested. She has realized that we have the right expertise in the region, and that is the best resource, one can have. What is left for her now is to play the role of coordination, bring all this together. And I'm happy that she has already started with her consultative, kind of agenda, consulting even the elders, traditional authorities, and those kind of things. And I'm sure out of this, she will draw good wisdom to actually come up with a bullet where everyone is contributing when it comes to energy.
I had the privilege of speaking to her behind the scenes yesterday, and she was telling me she's already instructed a personal assistant to make sure that, at least twice a week, 3 hours, community can come and see her just to talk about the issues that they're experiencing in their communities. Talk to us about how can we cultivate a greater sense of servitude leadership in the country where a culture of care is mainstreamed.
I'm an African, and here in Namibia, back in the days, a neighbor would wake up and go to the neighbor's house just to go and greet. Thereafter, go back to their house. How many of us are doing that? Nowadays, when you see a neighbor coming to your house early in the morning, you are already thinking, what are they coming to get? When they have gone, after just greeting you, then you are like, is that all they came to do? We need to change that. They must start visiting each other as stakeholders just to discuss, have some constructive, discussions.
Are you talking about a value system?
Yes. That is very much important, because when you come together and you realize that you both can do things, only that you are in different corners, then you find a way to actually harmonize, to actually combine efforts and compensate on each other, towards victory.
Doctor, I think we're ready to cross over into the State of the Region address that will be coming from the governor, that is Kadiva Hamutumwa. She will be delivering her maiden speech. Then maybe we'll be back with a post-analysis after that. Please join us for that. But for now, it's time for the governor to address the residents of the Ohangwena region.
We ask all thee in the name of our Lord and Liberator, Jesus Christ. Amen. Affirmation. I solemnly affirm that I will be faithful to the Republic of Namibia and its people, and I solemnly promise to uphold and defend the Constitution and laws of the Republic of Namibia to the best of my ability. I affirm. Thank you very much. May we be seated. Honorable members of the House, Honorable Kadiva Hamutumwa, the Governor of Ohangwena region, and former governors being present here, I recognized General Sir Sebastian Leitunga in our midst, and other governors might be present here. General Sir, you are welcome to this very important session. Your Worship, the Mayors, Councillor Omri On Kavanje, and Honorable Councillor Darius Alukeni of Enana and Raunafiti Town Council respectively, Honorable Frida David, the Chairperson of Okongo Village Council, the SWAPO Party Regional Coordinator, Comrade Freeman Joshua, as well as Comrade Tuimo Nathingo, the Information and Mobilization Officer of the SWAPO Party in Ohangwena region, and other political party representatives here. Allow me also to recognize our three traditional authority leadership in our region. Mekulu Mdoko Marita Mwadino Moya Krishna Nelumbu, ambaye tuyo kwa nyama, akarelwapo kutate Kulushiweda, Tate Frimo Nishumbwa Nangolo, for Ndonga Traditional Authority, Tate Ndriman Ipumbu for Okwambi Traditional Authority, veterans of the National Liberation Struggle of Namibia, Comrade Chief Regional Officer, Comrade Philippus Shasena in Shilongo, being represented here by Madam Kakwambi Juria, our acting CRO, as well as being a Director of Planning in our region. Commissioner Otiria Kasupura, our Regional Commander, Nampo. I also would like to recognize the presence of Dr. Lucas Kulo, the head of NAST in Ohangwena, as well as Dr. Mesho for IUM in Ohangwena. I also acknowledge esteemed directors, deputy directors of various directorates in the region, heads of OMAS, all staff members for Ohangwena Regional Council, Office of the Governor and other officials present, business personalities, students from NAST, I was informed they are also here. There might be also some other students from different institutions of higher learning and secondary schools as learners. Dear residents of Ohangwena region, all listeners and viewers from all corners of the region and of the country, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Thank you. I'm also well, and I would like to request the honorable members in the August House to take our program so that we can go through together. There is a council meeting for today, a special council meeting, which has got very, very few items, and these are the items that we have only to discuss. So this is the agenda points of the 4th 2025 special council meeting, which is today, the 4th of August 2025, and the agenda points reads as follows. Item 1, opening and welcoming. Item 2, adoption of the agenda. Item 3, application of leaves of absence by members. Item 4, correction and confirmation of the minutes of the previous meeting. Item number 5, interview with deputations or persons summoned or requested to attend the meeting. Item 6, official announcement, statement and communications. That is the main item of the day. We have got sub-items 6.1 and 6.2. 6.1 is state of the regional address, which is known SORA, by the Honorable Kadiva Diana Hamutumwa. And sub-item 6.2 will be questions and answers. So item 7, petitions, none. 8, motions of members, none. 9, answers to questions of members of which notice have been given, none. Then reports of the advisory committee and that of the chief regional officer, number 10, none. Then 11, reports of the National Council members, none. 12, recommendation of the management committee, none. 13. Draft regulations and tariffs, none. Then 14, correspondences, matters of confidential nature. 16, date of the next council meeting. 17 will be a closure. So therefore, at this juncture, honorable members, I would like to request the House to move for the adoption of the agenda with the following items only and suspend the rest of the items of the agenda. Item number 1, with the opening and welcoming. Item number 2, adoption of the agenda. Item number 3, application of leaves of absence of my members. Item number 7, official announcement, statements and communication with sub-item 6.1, which is SORA, and sub-item number 6.2, questions and answer. And lastly will be a closure. So may I request the August House to move for the adoption of the agenda. Yes, Honorable Shifiti. Thank you very much. Honorable Shifiti has moved for the adoption of the agenda. Yes, Honorable Shikongo. Thank you very much. Honorable Shikongo has seconded Honorable Sifiti for the adoption of the agenda, and the agenda has been adopted as it reads. Thank you very much. So we move back to the program. With the application of list of absence by members, any application of leaves or of an absence of a member? Honorable Kaishungu. Thank you very much. We have taken note of that. Any other absence of leave? Thank you. We have taken note of those absence of the honorable members. Then we move to the welcoming honorable members. Honorable Governor, Comrade Chief Regional Officer being represented here by Madam Kakwambi Juria, who is our acting CRO. Esteemed residents of Ohangwena region, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor and great pleasure to welcome you all to the 11th Special Regional Council meeting on the state of the regional address, which is SORA. Today marks again an important occasion as we gather here to reflect on our works we have made in the 2024-2025 financial year. We are especially honored to have with us Honorable Kadiva Diana Ipondoka Hamutumwa, the regional governor, who will address us on the developmental projects, activities planned, and essential services delivered across our region. This is a valuable opportunity for engagement, transparency, and shared vision as we continue to work towards the sustainable development of Ohangwena region. Thank you very much for your presence and continued commitment to the progress of our region. Once again, welcome, and thank you very much for being here. As we are moving ahead, Honorable House, moving towards the item number 6, which is official announcements, statements, and communication, which is the main event. I'm having 2 announcements to make, and very important. One is very important for the residents of Ohangwena and for the August House to take note that the supplemental registration of voters has commenced today, the 4th of August, which will run up to the 19th of August, 2025, in all 12 constituencies of Ohangwena region and all local authorities. Therefore, we are all urged to inform all the youth who turned 18 years old and those who changed their places of origin, I refer to the constituencies, to go and register as from today up to the 19th of August, 2025. And the starting time is always from 8 o'clock up to 1700. That is 5 o'clock in the evening. So, honorable members, this is very important, and I was informed by the head of ECN in the region, Mr. Hanga, to inform the honorable members that we must keep updating the rest of the public to make sure that they go and register as from today onwards up to the 19th of August. Then secondly, honorable members, Honorable Governor, Comrade Acting CRO, we are here for the SORA, State of the Region Address, by the Honorable Governor as it is provided for by the Constitution. And I would like to take it as a second announcement and the agenda of the day, that in terms of Article 110A, Sub-Article 5 and 6 of the Constitution of the Republic of Namibia, and I quote, Article 5, Sub-Article 5, a regional governor shall attend a meeting of the regional council of the region for which he or she is the regional governor once every year, with the meeting shall occur after the president and the cabinet attend the parliament in terms of Article 32, Sub-Article 2 thereof. During the meeting referred to in Sub-Article 5, the regional governor shall address the regional council on the state of the region, planned activities of the central government in the region, report on the activities of the central government of the previous years in the region, and be available to respond to the questions and end of the quote, honorable members. So therefore, honorable members, honorable governor, Comrade Acting Chief Regional Officer, dear all listeners and viewers all over the region and the country, at this occasion, allow me to invite our able new governor, Honorable Kadiva Diana Hamutumwa, to come to the podium to deliver the State of the Regional Address. Honorable Governor, the floor is over to you.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. Honorable Erickson Dawanifa, Chairperson of the Management Committee, all regional councillors, all former honorable regional governors present, the Chief Regional Officer of Ohangwena Regional Council, Your Worship the Mayors of Enana and Helao Nafidi Towns, the Chairperson of Okongo Village Council, Honorable Local Authority Councillors, Chief Executive Officers of local authorities being Enana, Helao Nafidi Towns, and Okongo Village, Mekulu Dr. Martha Mwadino Moya Christian Nelumbu, Ohambayo Ukwanyama, and all other traditional leaders present, and I want to single out the Okwambi Traditional Authority as well as the Ondonga Traditional Authority. Comrade Philemon Joshua, the Swapo Party Regional Coordinator for Ohangwena Region, and other political parties present. Veterans of the liberation struggle, representatives of government offices, ministries and agencies, distinguished members of the business community, esteemed spiritual leaders, fellow residents of Ohangwena region, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Omwalele potu nawa, omolito nawa menana, yalom. Where many moons ago, at the height of our nation's liberation struggle, a young daughter was born by freedom fighters from a land yearning for freedom. A land where every sunrise carried the weight of sacrifice and the promise of a liberated tomorrow. I stand before you today, not merely as the newly elected governor of the great Ohangwena region, nor as one who has served in the corridors of corporate strategy, but as a daughter of the soil, shaped by courage, resilience, and the indomitable spirit of those who came before me. I stand on the shoulders of giants who have sacrificed immensely so that we may speak today of freedom, dignity, and progress. Giants like Kakurukade Mungunda, who gave her life in the face of injustice, and Captain Hendrik Vedboy, Ipumbuya Chirongo, Mandume Ndemfayo, and Dr. Sam Shafishuna Nuyoma, and many more who fiercely defended our heritage. These heroes remind us that our struggle was not only one of guns and trenches, but of unwavering conviction and shared destiny. Today, I stand here representing a generation that yearns to transform, reform, and drive economic emancipation within our lifetime. This generation remains ready to complete the second phase of our liberation struggle, and that is to ensure that all Namibians are economically empowered. It is therefore, ladies and gentlemen, on the aforementioned that I stand here humbled and indeed delighted to deliver my first State of the Region address as Governor of the smart Ohangwena region for the 2024-2025 financial year, in accordance with Article 110A, subsection 5 and 6 of the Namibian Constitution. As of the 1st of July 2025, I was appointed by Her Excellency Dr. Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, President of the Republic of Namibia, as the 5th Governor and the political head of the Great Ohangwena region. Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, allow me this opportunity to applaud the people of the Great Ohangwena region for their faith and confidence in Her Excellency, Dr. Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, who was democratically elected as our first female president of our republic. We are cognizant that as she sets the vision, we are here to collectively turn that vision into reality by walking the talk and in an unusual business fashion for the betterment of the people of the land of the brave, our Namibia. Further to this, we are cognizant that we are guided by the SWAPO Party Manifesto and the National Development Plan 6. We must all, as Namibians, support Her Excellency President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah in taking our country to the highest level of development and prosperity. Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, the reporting period for this SORA is between the 1st of April 2024 to 31st March 2025. And I would like to take this opportunity to highlight the notable accomplishments and achievements of the region under the period review. The reporting period was under the capable leadership of His Excellency, Dr. Nangolo Mbumba, the 4th President of the Republic of Namibia. We extend our deepest appreciation and admiration for his leadership during the most challenging period in our nation's history. In the same vein, I am very grateful to my predecessor, Honorable Lieutenant General Retired Sebastian Haitota Ndeitunga, for a pleasant handover which was carried out very smoothly. Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, on quality education, as you are aware, academic performance is more than just examination results. It reflects the quality of teaching and learning environment, parental support, and the motivation and dedication of our learners. It is also a key measure of how we are preparing our young people to contribute to societal well-being. Henceforth, the following academic achievements were made during the reporting period. Overall Grade 11 Namibia Senior Secondary Certificate performance improved from 27.22% in 2023 to 35.64% in 2024. The overall Grade 12 Namibia Senior Secondary Advanced Subsidiary performance improved from 45.43% in 2023 to 46.61% in 2024. The number of Grade 11 learners who qualified for Grade 12 increased from 1,310 in 2023 to 1,683 in 2024. The Grade 11 performance, Ohangwena moved from position number 11 in 2023 to position number 5 in 2024. That deserves a round of applause. It is also a privilege to stand before you today to discuss the significant advancements in our educational infrastructure. This is a vital investment in the future of our children and our communities. A total of 6 major capital projects were undertaken, reflecting a robust commitment to addressing both immediate and long-term educational needs. Looking at the construction of 70 emergency classrooms at the cost of 24.5 million, the construction of 6 ablution facilities at the cost of 3.9 million, 47 classrooms were renovated at a total cost of 10 million, enhancing the quality of teaching and learning environments. The construction of the Regional Education Directorate offices was completed at 64 million, strengthening the region's education administration infrastructure. Upgrading and renovation of the Oshikunde Secondary School is currently ongoing, with 78% of the work completed and a project cost of 68 million. The construction of sewer evaporation ponds at Shitua Secondary School was finalized at a cost of 1.6 million. The construction of the Limbadungila Kindergarten at Omatunda Anekundi in Engela constituency at a cost of 56,000. Additionally, the construction of 4 classrooms at Omito and Mawila PS in Omdaungilo and Okongo constituencies by Prime Health at the cost of 700,000. And I must mention here that it is important, as we report and reflect on education, that we look at what is currently being called learner poverty, where we must make sure that we focus on early childhood development in the coming financial year. Ladies and gentlemen, on quality health and social welfare, during the year under review, the Ministry of Health and Social Services implemented projects and programs aimed at improving the health and welfare of residents. The following are capital projects implemented by the health sector. The construction of Onangulo Primary Healthcare Clinic in Ohangwena constituency has been completed at the cost of 10 million. The construction of Onamafila Primary Healthcare Clinic in Oshikunde constituency has been completed at the cost of 19 million. The progress on the construction of the prefab clinic at Onamukulo at the tune of 4.2 million, completion rate was at 91% as at the end of the reporting period. The construction of the new Elundu, Onehonge, and Oshuli primary healthcare clinics and staff accommodation was prioritized for implementation. The construction of 3 outreach clinics at Onambwebwe, Oshapwe, and Peumbo in Engela constituency was completed at the cost of 150,000. During the reporting period, the public health sector operated with adequate staffing, with 6 specialists, 16 medical officers, and 7 doctors. The region has recorded 742 tuberculosis cases of all forms out of 8,552 presumptive TB screening investigated through Namibia Institute of Pathology, whereby 700 TB cases are new and relapse cases. The region also reported 29 drug-resistant TB cases out of 630 GenExpert positive TB cases. The Prevention of HIV from Mother to Child Transmission program has been implemented very well since its inception to date, and the region has implemented the PMTCT program in all its 34 clinics and 2 health centers. The region managed to ensure healthcare workers are well trained in PMTCT program for the proper implementation of all program activities. Ohangwena region has been reporting high number of malaria cases, ladies and gentlemen. The region experienced a malaria outbreak in the beginning of the financial year and at the end of the year 2024 until the beginning of 2025. Although the region tried its utmost best to curb the spreading of the disease, some lives were lost due to the fact that the cases were reported very late when patients were severely ill. During the review period, the region reported about 3,768 confirmed malaria-positive cases, whereby 11 patients died due to severe, complicated malaria. Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, on gender equality, poverty eradication, and social welfare, a total of 57,910 children were registered on the social grant system. In terms of income-generating activities were implemented in order to assist small and medium enterprises with materials to start and expand their business ventures. To this end, Shafombabi Tailoring and Januakor Gardening projects in Ongenga constituency were funded at a total of 57,500 Namibian dollars, while Crafted Comfort and Namibia Plumbing Solutions projects in Ngela constituency were also funded at the tune of 57,500 Namibian dollars. On disability affairs, I am pleased to report that over the review period, the Disability Affairs team conducted home visits to 373 people living with disabilities across the region, during which tailored guidance was provided to address their needs and circumstances. However, the prevailing living conditions remain profoundly inadequate, where, firstly, basic necessities are severely lacking, where many individuals do not have access to sufficient food, clean bedding, or essential assistive devices such as wheelchairs and orthotic boots. Secondly, living environments are unhygienic and unsanitary, placing residents at risk of illness and neglect. A significant number of homebound persons with disabilities are left unattended for extended periods, resulting in unmet care needs and social isolation. Ladies and gentlemen, during the period under review, 13 students with disabilities received government funding for tertiary studies. Despite the dedicated support provided, numerous learners with disabilities continue to face substantial barriers to enrolling in mainstream schools, underscoring critical shortcomings in the implementation. And this is one of the areas that we will tighten in the coming financial year. These gaps include inadequate infrastructure, insufficient specialized resources, limited teacher training, and deep-rooted stigma and cultural bias against disability. Factors that prevent many children from accessing or remaining in formal education. In terms of individual support provision, during the latest review period, the responsible office delivered critical in-kind support to 74 individuals with disabilities, comprising essential items such as milk, nappies, including adult diapers, portable toilets, and hygiene supplies. A further 224 persons remaining on the official waiting list to receive these support packages. These distributions are in line with Namibia's established social protection policy for people with disabilities, which mandates the delivery of essential items such as diapers and assistive devices alongside cash grants and services grants monitoring and referral. Over 140 individuals were referred for disability grant consideration, and 30 individuals were approved to receive the grants. Ladies and gentlemen, I move on to the marginalized community, which is called the indigenous minority. In terms of burials, the division marginalized communities continued providing dignified burials to members of the marginalized communities in Ohangwena region. During the financial year under review, a total of 50 burials of SAN community members have been successfully facilitated at an amount of $167,039. In terms of education, the division marginalized communities provided transportation for learners from marginalized communities, socio-psychological support through conducting motivational talks on back to school and stay in school to the parents, youth and children from the marginalized communities through various platforms. This has therefore resulted in the increase of academic enrollment from 863 during 2024 academic year to 1,122 for 2025 academic year. This deserves a round of applause. A number of over 150 learners from the SAN community from Oshandi, Oholamo, Enkolo, Ondaungilo, Olukulo, Epembe villages, and Ombili location have benefited from government transport to and from school during school holidays and out weekends. 8 students benefited from the education support program and secured private accommodation. In terms of the special feeding program, a total of 303,531 SAN households in 117 villages benefited from the special feeding program in the Ohangwena region. In terms of land fencing, during the period under review, fencing materials were procured at the cost of 600,000 for the marginalized communities in the following villages: Olukula, Oshikwanga, Olupale, and Onane villages in Okongo constituency, as well as Omatunda and Onaingete in Omdaungilo constituency. The projects will be implemented during this financial year. Moving on to national documents for the marginalized, the division continued working closely with relevant stakeholders, the Ministry of Home Affairs, Immigration, Safety and Security, in ensuring the MCs are registered with national documents. I would now like to move on to the matter on War Veterans Affairs. During the reporting period under review, a total number of 298 veterans were paid a once-off gratuity at an amount of 14 million. 391 individual veterans projects were paid out in cash to the total amount of 66 million. A total of 2,286 veterans have received a monthly veterans welfare grant ranging from 3,000 Namibian dollars to 5,000 Namibian dollars as per their classified categories. And I wish at this point to applaud the government who has taken a decision recently to actually increase the number of veterans that are going to be receiving their benefits very soon. On the matter on agriculture and water, in terms of agriculture production, extension and engineering services, the following programs were successfully implemented in the region during the reporting period. The provision of subsidized plowing services and planting to a total of 1,763.4 hectares for 1,014 farmers, provision of subsidized improved seeds for 10,868 farmers, provision of subsidized artificial fertilizers to 353 farmers, and provision of subsidized weeding services with the registration of 14 community weeding groups at the total cost of 2.3 million. 63 farmers benefited through the Poultry Value Chain Development Scheme at the cost of $412,361.96. 43 farmers supported through the National Horticultural Support and Value Chain Development Program at the cost of $307,133.22. Omufitu Wekutu Community Forest Mushroom Enterprise Project received 1.5 million from the Environmental Investment Fund for the fencing off of the project facility and construction of accommodation, factory with all equipment and ablution facilities. Omufituekutu Horticulture Project joint venture with Oshali Community Projects in Okongo constituency, venturing in the production of vegetables, installed shade nets, irrigation system, and construction of the marketing facilities at the cost of 182,340 Namibian dollars. Omipapa Forest Project, venturing in the production of animal grass feed, was established in Okongo constituency at a cost of 3 million funded by the Environmental Investment Fund. These funds, ladies and gentlemen, were used to drill a borehole, acquire a tractor, and other agricultural implements and fence off the project site. The Onehanga Youth Agricultural Project in Okongo constituency was revived and produces 5.2 tons of mahangu and other produce. It employed 9 permanent youth and numerous casuals. Naungungulu Wovanu Okanda Nengudidako project was established in Ondobe constituency to assist communities who are in need, such as orphans and vulnerable households. The project has 4 silos and 478 people have benefited so far. Malnutrition at clinics in our constituency. The people who are beneficiaries are 478 as of the reporting period, and each consists of 80 baskets for 20 liters. Moving on to animal health. Ladies and gentlemen, healthy animals mean healthy communities, whether through livestock farming, trade, or nutrition. The well-being of our animals directly impacts the well-being of our people. Diseases affecting livestock can lead to major losses for farmers, disrupt markets, and in some cases pose serious risks to human health. It is on that basis that the following interventions were taken during the period under review by the Directorate of Veterinary Services on Animal Health in the region. 181,686 cattle were vaccinated against lung sickness. 84,992 cattle were vaccinated against foot and mouth disease. 10,405 dogs and cats were vaccinated against rabies. 4,406 people were also educated on rabies awareness in schools. 441 farmers trained in animal husbandry practices and transboundary animal diseases in Enana, Epembe, Okongo, Endola, Oshikango, Ondobe, Ohangwena, and Ongenga constituencies. In other related projects, Ndevahoma Auction Kraal received a weighing scale from the European Development Fund through the Ministry of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform as a donation in order to increase animal marketing. I now move on, ladies and gentlemen, to water supply and infrastructure. Interventions through rural water supply. As we are aware, water is life, ladies and gentlemen. Yet many of our rural communities continue to face serious challenges in accessing clean water for drinking, sanitation, and livelihoods, especially in the eastern part of the region. It is on that basis that the following interventions were made to address this critical situation. The construction of three short kilometer pipelines was completed, 1 in Enana and 2 in Ongenga constituencies at a cost of 400,000. 492 private water meters were connected throughout the region. 6 boreholes were drilled in Oshudia, Okamanya, Ohaiha, Okampinyona, Mbidi, and Ombua, Yongete villages in Ondaungilo, Oshikunde, and Okongo constituencies at the cost of 3.8 million. 12 deep boreholes were installed at Oshipia, Onamundidi, Eeshi, Onaisio, Okakango Kasheuyange, Okahaluni, Omatunda, Ohawanangena, Okaludilona, Ombulu, Oshifitu, Epumbu villages, and boreholes rehabilitated at Omulamba and Okashakati, Kangipunya villages in Oshikunde, Epembe, and Okongo at the cost of 23 million. One earth dam, thank you. One earth dam was rehabilitated at Onangwe in Omulonga constituency at the cost of 1.9 million. 6 earth dams constructed at Endola, Engela, Ohangwena, Oshikango, Ondobe, and Ongenga constituencies at the cost of 1.8 million. The installation of submersible pumps at Elakalapwa Earth Dam in Ongenga constituency was completed at the cost of 32.5 thousand. The procurement and installation of water pipelines from Oheti number 2 to the northern side, Oshandi to Embahu, Etomba to Omunyekadi, Onangulo to Onangulo South, and Onjofima to Ehoma in Ondobe constituency was completed at the cost of 487,433.25 Namibian dollars. The procurement of water pipeline related materials for Ohangwena constituency at the cost of 615,588.10 cents was implemented. I now move on to bulk water supply in terms of projects implemented by NAMWater. The Ohangwena 2 Wellfield project seeks to enhance the region's water supply infrastructure to increase potable water delivery to Enana and surrounding communities. It involves the construction of saltwater disposable ponds, equipping of boreholes, expansion of bulk water schemes, and improved storage facilities to meet the projected demand of 10 million litres per day by the year 2037. The project is being implemented by NamWater with financial assistance from the African Development Bank. Ladies and gentlemen, the key expected benefits. First and foremost, the infrastructure development and expansion of 205 kilometers of UPVC pipelines to strengthen water distribution. Separation of bulk and rural supply lines for operational efficiency, relocation of rural offtakes to appropriate rural distribution lines, water supply security on equipping 2 new boreholes in Enana and refurbishing 2 boreholes at Oshandi. On expansion of the Enana reverse osmosis plant by an additional 1,000 cubic meters per day with a total capacity of 2,600 cubic meters per day. On the construction of saltwater disposable ponds for both new and existing treatment plants. Additionally, it is to increase storage capacity of 6 elevated reservoirs to be constructed. 3 concrete reservoirs with capacities of 2.1, 3.4, and 7.6 megaliters. The socio-economic impact, reliable potable water supply to the central northern area, reduced pressure on aging water infrastructure, enhanced monitoring of aquifer recharge, and quality water. Reporting on the progress of this project. To date, the achievements during the reporting period. We have completion of major pipeline installations across Oshandi, Ondobe, Omakango, and the Tomba corridors. Significant progress on elevated tanks and concrete reservoirs at various sites. The expansion of the Enana reverse osmosis plant advanced. Saltwater ponds cleared post-demining and under development. Pump stations at Omafo, Omakango, and Ondobe reached advanced stages as at the end of the reporting period. Physical works increased from 20% in April 2024 to 73% by March 2025, and the total project cost is at 285 million. I should report, ladies and gentlemen, at this point that this project is currently at 95% complete, and we should be seeing the commissioning very soon. In terms of land reform, land is more than just a physical asset. It is a foundation for livelihoods, identity, and development for individuals and communities alike. Secured land tenure ensures stability, promotes investment, and promotes food security. It is therefore against this background that the following registration of communal land rights was ratified and approved by the board, and certificates were issued to traditional authorities. 1,397 customary land rights, 8 rights of leasehold, and 7 occupational land rights. Under the Commercial Resettlement Program, 1 person from the region was resettled at Farm Omkir, number 204, in the Ochodonjupa region as a result of lack of grazing area and commercial purposes. 4 boreholes were repaired and installed at the San community settlements of Ekoka, on Oshanashiwa, on Namatadiva, and Endobe at the cost of 1 million through the group resettlement projects. The Ohangwena Communal Land Board has investigated 29 land disputes, of which 15 were resolved, while 7 appealing judgments were pending. The impact of illegal fencing in communal land is significant and often negative, affecting both our people and the environment. It is therefore against this background that 196 illegal fences were reported in the region, of which 25 were investigated and 15 were issued with notices to be removed. 11 fences were voluntarily removed, while 4 were pending removal by the Land Board. Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, moving on to energy infrastructure. NORAD has executed the following projects during the period under review. electrification of shack dwellers' houses in Okongo to the tune of 2.2 million, with funding from the Ministry of Industries, Mines and Energy, which created temporary employment for 28 local people. The electrification of 86 pre-urban federation houses in Okongo for free to the value of 864, 595 and 88 Namibian dollars. Fencing, mini-subs and substations across the region at the value of 81,000 to ensure safety and prevent vandalism. The following localities were electrified by the Ohangwena Regional Council through the Constituency Development Fund. The completion of the electrification of Epundi Growth Point in Engela constituency at the cost of 464,933.23 cents. The electrification of Okanaimbula Outreach Clinic in Enana constituency at the cost of 26,126.90 cents. The electrification of Oikuni Growth Point in Ondobe constituency at the cost of 155,619.68 cents. The electrification of Omupembe Kuka Shops in Okongo constituency at the cost of 1 million. The installation of the transformer at Epembe Growth Center in Epembe constituency at the tune of 664,875.02 cents. Additionally, the electrification of Onwiyu Growth Point in Oshikunde constituency at the cost of 577,201.78 cents. As well as the electrification of Onjabalala Roman Catholic Church in Ndola constituency at the cost of 881,603.65 cents. Ladies and gentlemen, dear viewers, the following schools were electrified by NamPower through the Ministry of Mines and Energy during the reporting period under review at a total cost of 36 million. Mateus Nakatumba PS, Nifikwa Ndailikana PS, Ndahambelela PS, and Okongo Project PS at the cost of 8.8 million. Ohamalila PS, Okalimba Nombwa PS, Efuta Primary School, Petrus Neshuku Primary School, and Nifilenge Primary School at the cost of 8.6 million. Festus Ikanda Junior Primary School, Ohainengena Junior Primary School, and Haindongo Primary School at the cost of 5.4 million. Veiko Nekundi Primary School, Oipiaiwa Primary School, Eshakeno Primary School, and Shakela Shimbwa Primary School at the cost of 7.6 million. Nafidi Project Primary School, Ohamala Primary School, and Oshifidi Primary School at the cost of 5.4 million. I now move on to matters of trade, commerce, and industries. As we navigate an ever-changing global and regional economic landscape, we must strengthen our local industries, promote value addition, and create an enabling environment for trade, especially for our small and medium enterprises. During the period under review, the Ministry of Trade and Industries facilitated registration of 441 close corporation companies. Annual duty and beneficial ownership. 34 SMEs from the region were shortlisted and recommended to benefit from the Equipment Aid Scheme program. It is also worth mentioning, ladies and gentlemen, that 7 SMEs were shortlisted and recommended for assistance through the Industrial Upgrading and Modernization Program. I now move on to transport infrastructure. Efficient, safe, and well-maintained transport networks are essential for connecting people to opportunities, goods to markets, and communities to essential services. In both urban and rural settings, transport infrastructure determines how effectively we deliver development, reduce inequality, and improve quality of life. The labor-based construction of the following gravel district roads has begun during the period under review. D3622, Omukukutu to Omboloka, which is 34 kilometers, to be constructed at the cost of 69 million, and the progress completion rate was at 44% at the end of the reporting period. D4119, Omulonda to Oshuli, which is 23 kilometers long, to be constructed at the cost of 53 million, and the progress completion rate was at 63%. The habilitation of TRC 45 Onuno to Enana, which is a total of 47 kilometers, has stopped due to budgetary constraints. The design and documentation on District Road DR 3624 Ondaungilo to Omboloka, which is a total of 86 kilometers, has also been completed at the cost of 18 million. The Regional Council has also given final inputs and priorities into the compilation of the Regional Roads Master Plan for the construction of gravel roads and upgrading to bitumen standards for the next 5 years. I now move on to urban development. Urban development is not just about infrastructure and buildings. It is about creating inclusive, sustainable, and resilient communities where citizens have access to housing, municipal services, economic opportunities, and a decent quality of life. The region comprises the following local authorities and urban centers: Enana Town, the regional capital, Helao Nafidi Town, and Okongo Village, and the settlement areas of Omungwelume, Ongenga, and Onga. The Enana Town Council has, since the year 2000, implemented several housing and land delivery projects through partnership arrangements with the private sector in order to expedite housing and land delivery amidst the acute lack of funding from central government. Through these arrangements, an array of low to middle income houses have been developed to cater for a sizable number of residents in the town. During the period under review, the following housing projects were implemented through smart partnerships with Enana United Construction and Greywell Properties CC. 50 houses were constructed at Omito Extension 2, 3, and 6 at a value of 34.1 million. Additionally, 35 individual high and low income or low cost houses were constructed at Enana proper, Enana Extension 10, and Extension 2 and 3 at a value of 20.4 million. A special offer to first-time buyers in Enana was implemented, and 50 plots were reserved for sale to first-time buyers, where 49 plots were already paid off and over 20 houses are constructed. 100 urban were allocated to National Housing Enterprise, NHE, for the construction of low-cost houses in phases. The first phase, ladies and gentlemen, consisting of 30 houses, is expected to start during the 2025-2026 financial year. The proclamation and servicing of 304 low-cost plots at Okango through smart partnerships at 9.5 million for planning, surveying, and construction of water and sewer are at 99%. 8 capital projects carried out at a total cost of 38.3 million varies from street lights installation, construction of Town Council Office Complex Phase 1, Stage 2, construction of service at Extension 10 and 11, the maintenance and surfacing of roads and construction of mini open markets at the Enana District Hospital. I move on to the Helao Nafidi Town Council, which has implemented 9 development projects during the reporting period as outlined below. The Ohangwena proper sewer reticulation was completed. There is a total of 104 plots that were serviced with sewer reticulation for 3.9 million. The Ohangwena business area sewer reticulation was completed. 31 business plots and 15 residential plots serviced with sewer reticulation at a total cost of 2.7 million. The maintenance of gravel roads in Helao Nafidi town were completed. The maintenance of gravel roads was done in Engela Omafo Extension 3, Onuno Extension 8, Engela proper, and the construction of Olungono Access Bridge at the cost of 2 million. New dump site for the Helao Nafidi town in Engela was also completed. The Helao Nafidi Town Council constructed a new dump site phase 1 at the cost of 3.2 million. Electricity reticulation at Olungono Extension 6 and 7, which is funded by NamPower, was also completed. Electrical reticulation at Oshikango Extension 7 and Olungono Extension 1, with a total of 440 urban at the value of 7.6 million. The provision of streetlights along Engela or Mafo Road were completed to the value of 791,564.90 cents. The provision of electricity and sewer reticulation phase 1 at Ohangwena proper was completed to the value of 2.2 million. Additionally, the construction of electrical reticulation phase 1 at Ohangwena proper, Shipepe, was completed to the value of 1.9 million. Road maintenance was completed within Helao Nafidi town to the value of 2.8 million. I now move on to the Okongo Village Council, which completed phase 2 of the construction of the open market and bus terminal at the cost of 2.8 million. The council also extended the water access to 300 residents at the new reception area at the cost of 230,000. The following projects, ladies and gentlemen, the following capital projects were implemented by the Ohangwena Regional Council in settlement areas. Firstly, the construction of sewer reticulation in Ongenga settlement at the cost of 698,146.23 cents. The construction of electrical reticulation to connect 54 business and 56 residential plots in Ongenga settlement at the cost of 4.9 million. The construction of water reticulation at Onga settlement at the cost of 5.5 million. The installation of streetlights at Onga settlement at the cost of 4.4 million. Planning and surveying of 700 urban at Block 9 at Onga settlement at the cost of 3.1 million. The construction of sewer and water reticulation at Ongwelume settlement at the cost of 7.5 million. The maintenance of gravel streets was done at Ongenga and Ongwelume settlements at the cost of 2 million. Compensation of Mahangu field owners to pave way for urban development within the settlement boundaries of Onga, Ongenga, and Ongwelume to the tune of 5.5 million was conducted. Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, in terms of rural development programs, rural development is a catalyst in transforming the lives of the people in rural areas. It is about empowering communities, improving access to basic services, and creating economic opportunities in order to improve their living standards. The following programs were implemented during the reporting period. The Cash for Food for Work, 12 projects were supported to the tune of 342,588 Namibian dollars, and 250 jobs were created. These projects were supported in Okongo, Omulonga, Endola, Epembe, Engela, and Ondobe. In terms of microfinance, 14 projects were supported to the tune of 315,273.30 cents, which created 250 permanent jobs. The following projects were implemented in Enana, Ongenga, Ondaungilo, Ohangwena, and Endola. In terms of regional specific action plan food security, Oshimumu Horticulture Project in Omlonga constituency was supported to fence off the project and provided with seeds at the total cost of 119,998.54 cents. The project consists of 15 beneficiaries, of which 7 are male and 8 are female. The One Region, One Initiative, Tulonga Twahangana Cooperative in Omdaungilo constituency consists of about 2,000 beneficiaries. 39,303 was paid to the retention of the construction of the access road to Zimenia Value Addition Project. Moving on to rural sanitation, 2.8 million was spent to purchase building materials. 235 rural toilet facilities were constructed across the region. Among the beneficiaries, 6 were people living with disabilities. The project created 180 temporary job opportunities. The construction of the Rural Development Center at Embahu. The Ohangwena region was one of the first regions to receive funding from the Ministry of Urban and Rural Development to construct the Rural Development Center called Billy William Mwaningange at Mbahu village in Ondobe constituency. The Regional Council constructed a kitchen and dining facility worth 23 million. During the period under review, the Council spent 3.7 million to complete the project. I now move on to other projects implemented in various constituencies under the Constituency Development Fund. The following small-scale community projects were implemented under the above program. The construction of Phase 1 of the Expo Center at Etameko village in Engela constituency was completed at the cost of 229,794.45 cents. The construction and completion of Okamito Kindergarten in Ondobe constituency was done at the cost of 154,362.40 cents. The procurement of the public address system for Okongo constituency was acquired at the cost of 19,407.08 cents. The top-up on the completion of the excavation of the earth dam at Otwilo village in Umlonga constituency was completed at the cost of 41,704.34 cents. I move on to safety and security, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to reflect on the state of crime within the Ohangwena region during the period under review, in which 4,907 total cases were reported, including 235 domestic violence, 154 rape, 880 assault, 784 housebreaking and theft, and 231 stock theft are not just data points, but a call to urgent and coordinated intervention. We must mobilize across sectors in order to boost police presence, especially in rural zones, protect survivors by expanding access to legal, medical, and psychosocial services, engage communities, especially youth and traditional leaders, to shift norms and promote vigilance, strengthen data systems and case resolution, ensuring swift justice and accountability. The scale and variety of crime afflicting the Ohangwena region during this period underscores the need for unity of purpose, and this will take a multi-sectoral approach for us to deal with this. Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, I am pleased to report on the vital infrastructure delivered in support of law enforcement and community safety within the Ohangwena region during the period under review. The Ndola Police Station was officially inaugurated on 12 April 2024. The new Ndola Police Station represents a monumental investment in public safety, constructed at a cost of 42.6 million. The facility includes a charge office comprising administrative offices, a radio room, a server room, and armory record storage, the cell block and 3 holding cells, and a doctor's consulting room. Officers' accommodation, 2 semi-detached units, 2 bedrooms each, and 14-room barracks, housing 8 male and 6 female officers, respectively. Additional amenities were water tanks and full security fencing. Moving on to the Anankulo Police Station, this was opened on 18 October 2024. This prefabricated station was built for 6.5 million. Key features within this infrastructure include a charge office, a 2-bedroom house, and 9 prefabricated bungalows, supporting facilities including a water tank and security, perimeter fencing. Staffed by 6 officers, the station strengthens policing capacity in the Onlonga constituency. Next is the Elundu Police Post, commissioned on 24 October 2024. The Elundu Police Post was constructed for 7.7 million. The facilities include prefabricated administrative offices and staff accommodation, a water tank and full security fencing. The station serves as a strategic entry point for policing in remote areas, improving access to law enforcement services. These projects, ladies and gentlemen, reflect our government's steadfast commitment to extending law enforcement services deep into rural and underserved communities. Each station is not merely brick and mortar, but a statement of purpose to bring security, trust, and responsive policing closer to our people. The scaled investments from the flagship Ndola facility, over 42 million, to the more modest but strategic stations at Onankulo and Enlundu will enhance rapid response, community engagement, and crime deterrence across the region. I call on all deployed officers and administrative teams to maintain these assets diligently and ensure that periodically we maintain the assets that have been entrusted to us. They are resources entrusted not only to serve, but to endure for future generations. Let us strengthen collaboration with traditional authorities, youth groupings, and community forums to maximize the impact of these facilities, ensuring that policing is both accessible and community-led. Together, ladies and gentlemen, we reaffirm our commitment to a safer, resilient, and united Ohangwena region. The construction of the Ndola Police Station, the Anankulo Police Station, and the Elundu Police Post mark significant milestones in our journey towards enhanced regional security. Let us give ourselves a round of applause. I now turn, ladies and gentlemen, to the operational and infrastructural challenges hindering our law enforcement efforts throughout the Ohangwena region during the period under review. Vehicle shortages remain a critical issue. Many patrol vehicles are frequently grounded and minor repairs are awaiting servicing and severely restricting operational readiness. The geographic conditions of Ohangwena, characterized by sandy and muddy terrain during the rainy season, require robust 4x4 vehicles. Unfortunately, some stations are equipped with inadequate 2x4 vehicles, leaving officers stranded when the weather worsens. Our border with Angola remains porous, allowing unchecked movement of people, livestock, and control issues such as bush encroachment and unregulated animal grazing. Fuel smuggling syndicates exploit this no man's land, officers have repeatedly observed smugglers slipping into areas where neither Namibian nor Angolan jurisdiction prevails, hindering enforcement. Several newly constructed police stations lack proper accommodation. For example, facilities have been built without proper designated station commander residences or barracks, forcing personnel to endure unsustainable living conditions. The cell capacity in the police cells in Enana, Okongo, Ohangwena, Ondaungil, Ongwelume, Oshikango, Onga, and Ndola is 320, but they are accommodating a whole 739 inmates, almost double their capacity. And here we would really like to call upon the critical stakeholders to assist the Ohangwena Regional Council in assisting us with this infrastructure and these needs. I now move on to sports and youth empowerment. In terms of sport development, sports plays a vital role in promoting health, discipline, teamwork, and national pride. It is on that basis that the following activities have taken place at Enana Sports Stadium during the period under review. The construction of sewer reticulation and sewer lifting station at the cost of 1.2 million, the construction of water reticulation at the cost of 800,000, the renovation of a pavilion at the cost of 1 million, a multi-purpose field was also constructed at the amount of 3 million at the Enana Sports Stadium. Although, ladies and gentlemen, and I want to underscore here, we report on a bit of progress, it is important to note that the Enana Sports Stadium has been under construction for more than 10 years, and this is unacceptable. This is unacceptable, and it is time that the ministry that is involved for constructing this sports facility comes on board and prioritizes this facility. If we are talking about youth empowerment and we are talking about ensuring that we develop active young people, we must invest and prioritize in this sporting facility. So I call upon the Ministry of Education, Innovation, Arts, Sports and Culture to speedily complete the construction. Moving on to youth empowerment, in terms of employment and training, 93 youth were trained between October and November 2024. Under the Namibia Youth Credit Scheme, 67 graduates received a loan of 8,000, each to start or expand their businesses. The renovation of Enana Youth Center commenced during this period at the cost of 1.4 million, and the progress completion was at 90%. Moving on to decent living and housing development. Okongo Village Council constructed 15 low-cost houses under the decentralized Build Together program to the value of 1.1 million, funded by the Trust Fund for Regional Development and Equity Provisions. Okongo Village Council also allocated 55 urban to Shark Dwellers Federation beneficiaries for ultra-low-cost houses construction. Moving on to civil registration. The timely and accurate registration of birth, death, marriages, and other vital events is a critical requirement and also a cornerstone of good governance. It ensures that individuals are recognized before the law and enables access to essential services such as education, healthcare, and social protection. As I address this August House with deep satisfaction, I am happy to report on the performance of the civil registration during the period under review. And I am pleased to share with you that 12,515 registered births were entered into our records, and a total of 1,470 death certificates were issued. Regarding identity documents, 8,130 new ID cards were issued and 3,887 duplicates processed, bringing the total number of ID applications handled to 12,017. Even more encouraging, ladies and gentlemen, 12,657 ID cards have been successfully collected by recipients. During the period under review, the Department of Civil Registration fulfilled its mandate by completing a comprehensive mass registration campaign across all 12 constituencies of the Ohangwena region. This campaign was part of the broader National Civil Registration Initiative led by the Ministry of Home Affairs. Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, despite the overwhelming achievements attained, the region is also faced with critical developmental challenges. And before I move to those critical developmental challenges, I wish to also report that under the period under review, we have implemented the Drought Relief Food Program, which was implemented and distributed across all 12 constituencies in the entire Ohangwena region from July 2024 until June 2025. However, I must report that there has been a backlog that is being concluded currently, and as such, it has been extended to August 2025. A total of 48,761 beneficiaries have received or benefited from the Drought Relief Food Program. Now, moving on to the challenges. Despite the overwhelming achievements attained, the region is also faced with critical development challenges that need immediate intervention for the development agenda to be realized. The following are some of the challenges that were noted and need to be addressed. Insufficient budgetary allocation to implement planned capital projects across all sectors due to the slow pace of decentralization. Lack of proper coordination and reporting channels with some sector ministries on development programs and projects implementation, especially those that have not yet decentralized functions to the Regional Council. And here I must underscore, the Regional Council is mandated to ensure regional development. We call upon the central government to assist and ensure that budgetary allocation is decentralized to the regions so that we are held accountable for the capital development projects that we need to implement in the region. We are not going to deliver on the services that are entrusted to us by the people if we do not have the budget, but we only have the budget on paper. The budget needs to come to the regional councils, it needs to be implemented, and we need to monitor it, and we need to ensure effective accountability. Additionally, access to potable water and healthcare, especially on the eastern side of the region, continues to remain a problem. Inadequate road network, and here I must underscore, we have during the reporting period experienced floods on the western side of the region. and there are certain schools that were closed because of those floods. There is a need for us to expedite the implementation of the access roads to these schools, together with some bridges. Failure to do that, we will find ourselves in the same situation next year if a flood is to occur. So we call upon the respective ministry to come and assist and ensure that access roads are actually created. The high unemployment rate, which is currently at 38%, as at the NSA in 2023 in the region, limited grazing area, high poverty level of rural and marginalized communities, seasonal floods and recurring droughts, as I mentioned, gender-based violence, stock theft, teenage pregnancies and high school dropouts, outbreak of malaria and malnutrition in the region, illegal fencing of communal land, insufficient ambulances, and I must also underscore a shortage of medicine and medical equipment in health facilities. Here, I want to also thank the central government for the announcement that has been made that in the health sector, we will be procuring directly from the suppliers moving forward in terms of medical facilities and medicines, and I believe that that will assist in expediting the provision of medicine within our hospitals. Thank you. The aging and inadequate building infrastructure across all sectors, the lack of funds for surveying and servicing of land in urban areas. Ladies and gentlemen, I must now underscore that our challenges might seem to be insurmountable. There are many. However, our community, our common aspirations and unity should serve as our weapon to address the above. As Her Excellency Dr. Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah passionately states, that we are too few to be poor. We in Ohangwena must boldly state that we are too many to be underdeveloped. And I really want to underscore that we are too many to be underdeveloped. With a population of over 300,000, there is no excuse for us to continue saying that we are underdeveloped. As defenders of the Namibian revolution, we must never settle for mediocrity. And here I am speaking to the residents of Ohangwena. Our journey has been forged through trials and triumph, woven with the courage of those who marched before us and the determination of each generation to carry the torch of progress further than the last. And today, we must also look ahead, for our duty to our forebearers is not merely to remember them, but to honor them by building a better tomorrow. Honorable Chairperson, fellow residents, as your governor, I say that we have done well. The report over the past financial year is a commendable report. However, we must move from good to great. Key statistics indicate that the region has high unemployment rate, especially amongst the youth. The level of poverty found in the region is high, and the region lacks development. We must work long hours without fail to turn this situation around. And therefore, in order to change the narrative and create youth empowerment, reduce unemployment, and do away with poverty, I challenge us to be more innovative and intentional. And I've been deeply thinking of, we are doing so well. There are a lot of projects that are going on in the 12 constituencies. But how do we move from good to great? How do we industrialize and create that industrialization agenda? Now, in order to create industrialization for the Ohangwena region, we must focus on three critical enablers. First and foremost, we must drive access to quality water. Firstly, we should tirelessly drive the development of the Ohangwena aquifer in order to ensure that it serves as a source of water supply for both domestic, agricultural, and industrial use. Additionally, we should work hard at developing earth dams that will serve as strategic catchment areas for both rain and flood water. This will serve as our water security strategy for the region, as this water is most best to use for agricultural purposes. The second and third enabler that I believe will create a game changer is that we should drive the development of critical road and network infrastructure in order to enhance business development within the region. In order to create, ladies and gentlemen, economic activity and economic emancipation and economic growth for the region, there is a need for us to move and create industries and businesses that will serve as economic stimulants. During the next 5 years, I challenge us to focus on the following key priorities. Firstly, agriculture. We should prioritize agriculture, embracing modern climate-smart farming that empowers us to feed ourselves. We should work towards establishing a green scheme, even if it's one green scheme in the region, that is viable to produce for both the local market as well as the national and regional market. We should also work towards establishing a viable strategy towards creating a value chain from the livestock we have in the region for purposes of commercial economic benefit. The second industry is the textile manufacturing. We should establish a manufacturing textile industry, and I speak at a large scale, aimed at providing for clothing for our education, security, health, sport, fashion industries, as well as the private sector. This will ensure that we buy and dress locally made clothes without having to import from other countries. If we say we have a population of 300,000 and more, then we should be able to dress ourselves, we should be able to feed ourselves. Our competitive advantage lies in the available infrastructure that we have in Oshikango that we can use. The third industry is the crafts industry. Thirdly, we should work towards creating a crafts industry that derives economic benefit through the exportation of finished wooden products locally made by our TVET graduates whilst conserving the environment. We must grow the crafts industry, producing high-quality wooden products and unique local crafts that carry our identity into global markets. Fourthly, tourism. We should work towards making the Ohangwena region a tourism hub in the north-central region. We must develop our tourism sector, enhancing cultural tourism that celebrates who we are and showcasing our tradition, heritage, and natural beauty to the world. I then move on to sports and creative arts, because this is one of the areas that are prioritized by government and is able to absorb majority of our youth. With sport being prioritized as a national priority, we should ensure that the Helao Nafidi and Enana sports stadiums will be completed in order to host football premier teams such as Eshoke Chula Chula here in Ohangwena, as well as Eshoke Chula Chula should not go to neighboring regions to go and play. They must be able to play within the Ohangwena region, as well as hosting national football teams and attract visiting clubs from Angola to compete in Namibia. We have that competitive advantage. Sport is more than just competing, ladies and gentlemen. When we develop the sport industry, we attract the development of the creative arts, hospitality, infrastructure, IT, security, health, equipment development, construction and maintenance of industries, which are all to be performed by our TVET graduates. So if we invest in the sports sector, our TVET graduates are the ones that are going to then be constructing all the equipment that we need and maintaining the equipment that we actually have within the sector. And that is the byproduct of developing the sports industry. I now move on to one audacious one, and that is the aviation industry. Ladies and gentlemen, in order to enhance trade and increase tourism in the region, there is a need to develop the Enana airstrip into a fully fledged airport that can be a commercial corridor for other SADC countries in order to enhance our bilateral and economic diplomacy between Namibia and Angola, and also an entry point to southern Angola throughout the whole SADC region. In conclusion, in order to realize the above priorities, there is a need to form strategic partnerships and economic alliances. We cannot continue to only rely on government to provide funding for us. Reliance on the government for the implementation of various strategies may not be feasible, and as a region, we should diversify our source of investment and funding mobilization by creating an enabling environment for investment. I call upon the youth of Ohangwena to dare to dream, and to wake up each day ready to build a Namibia shaped by our own hands. Let us build a region and a country that is united, strong, and forward-looking. Let us believe in ourselves and in our capacity to transform our lives and our communities. Let us rebuild our ways of doing things by redefining our culture of work and our mindset towards self-reliance. We must capitalize on our vibrant population, increasing economic activity in every sector, empowering every household, and creating opportunities where none existed before. I am re-emphasizing what Her Excellency, the President, Dr. Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, has said, that it is high time that we re-engineer ourselves towards productivity. A laissez-faire culture, ladies and gentlemen, should not be tolerated in the region if we wish to grow to greater heights. It therefore cannot be business as usual. Finally, Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, distinguished guests, fellow Namibians, let us be motivated by our shared history and inspired by our shared future. Let us remember that greatness is not given but forged, and that the path from good to great is one we walk together with courage, resilience, and unshakable faith in ourselves. Together, let us build a Ohangwena and a Namibia that is united, prosperous, and ready to take its rightful place in Africa and the world. Let us save our people from drowning in the ocean of poverty and move them to the island of prosperity. Let us work so hard and sweat so much as possible, because history has no record of anyone ever drowning in sweat. I thank you.
Well, there you have it, Namibia, and the residents of the Ohangwena region. Your governor, Kadiva Hamutumwa, has spoken, and she ended there by saying, let us save our people from drowning in the ocean of poverty and move them to an island of prosperity. We're coming to you live from Nana, the regional capital of the Ohangwena region, where the governor has just given her State of the Region address, touching on the status of development. We're joined by the head of NUST here in Nana, the campus here, Dr. Shitolo. Please talk to us about your initial impressions and reactions towards what you heard from the governor.
Yeah, first of all, like I said earlier, the governor is young and is full of energy. She brings energy to the region. Mm-hmm. She rightly called Ohangwena region is a smart region. That is to say, we have the potential to improve, the current situation. We have the resources. All that is left is coordination. And of course, she's doing well. She kept repeating the word accountability. Mm-hmm. That is coming from someone that has realized that sometimes, people behind developmental, agenda are not 100%, accountable. Mm-hmm. And they do things just for the sake of, doing things. But this time around, results are needed. And I like about that, the approach taken by the governor.
But when we talk about results, what I find a lot of the times is our theory of change that we apply in terms of development. And we can say, okay, these are the inputs that have been put in order to have an impact on the lives of people. And so do you find it challenging at times when we hear a lot of the investment that has gone into human development, but we, for instance, don't know how it affects household income, how it affects the purchasing power, how it affects, mobility of community members? Can we speak a little bit about the need, maybe not just for implementation, but also for monitoring and evaluation, so that we can report back in the number of lives that have been touched?
First of all, it's very important for any leader to sell the vision and to sell the agenda to the people down the grassroots level. And then after that, of course, people need to see tangible results. Of course, when people have understood where the government wants to go with the people, and then they are able to see the results, they'll also be able to be innovative and appreciate the change and appreciate whatever available resources and the progress thereafter.
But Doctor, to be critical in terms of what's not working is this idea that you can outsource, development initiatives just to government, or you can outsource it solely to private sector or to civil society, where we keep on reinforcing this notion that there needs to be a shared responsibility, and then we need to understand the development ecosystem, whose role is what, whose responsibility is what. So speak to us about this idea of participation, and how do communities really participate and not just expect miracles to happen when they are sitting and watching the proposed development that's supposed to affect their daily lives?
The issue of ownership, the issue of accountability, bottom-up approach, selling the agenda, that brings people together. And of course, you need to create avenues for everyone to participate, irrespective of where they are.
So what's that relationship between ownership and accountability? Expand on that, because I think that we get into the core of not just classifying a particular behavior, to say, how do communities own, for people that are listening, the development process? When they hear the governors say, this is what government has done, how can they play a greater part? And then how does that lead to enhanced accountability through participation?
Within the ambits of no one must be left out, and we should learn to do for ourselves, not for me, but for everyone. That drives, the notion of accountability. Because at the end of the day, you have a shared dream, common vision, and whatever you do should benefit everyone. So then you have to monitor, because there should be indicators. Are the people really improving their lives? That's from the leadership perspective. And of course, you pull everyone now in the same direction, and of course, you should be able to achieve and reach miles.
In the Oshana region, Dr. Shyama was speaking about, the significance of development committees at a regional, coordinating development committee level, at a constituency. It seems increasingly in our subnational governance structures that those platforms that you're speaking about of participation are dwindling. The question being, if, for instance, in the Ohangwena region, when between the ages of 15 and 59, 60% of the population is between that age, how do they participate in development committees, for instance? How do we encourage people to take ownership through the structures that are provided?
At every constituency, there are these CDCs. That's a platform for them to engage. That's a platform for them to participate. Then from the leadership perspective, one should be able to point out, should be able to identify the talents in every community, in every constituency. And then when that is in place, approach people. It's not all the time that we should have institutions expecting people to come. When they don't come, what do? You have a hospital. Of course, you expect people to come when they are sick. But what happens when a week goes by and there is no one that comes to the hospital? What do? You have to go down to the people. There's got to be something that, from your perspective, should be done for the people, not necessarily only when they are sick. In terms of development, it also works like that. You can't only wait for people to come, but you must also go down to the people and innovate around what is in existence. Maybe it's an issue of understanding. But really, through these CDCs and through community projects, people can be afforded the opportunity to participate.
When just not people, but I think particularly young people. Do you think they struggle, this idea of that leadership is only for the elder? When I, become older, then I'll go participate in the CDC. How do young people, understand that as a legitimate pathway to participate in the decision-making of development when it comes to planning, when it comes to advocating for resources to be allocated to these particular projects that will, enhance their livelihoods? How do we encourage young people to actively participate in CDCs or settlement committees, wherever they find themselves?
We need to engage young people. We need to give them responsibilities. If you talk to many graduates, they stay home. But when they come for interviews, one has graduated, let's say 2-3 years back, you ask, what is your experience? They will always answer, the unemployment, situation in the country. But when it comes to experience, it shouldn't be a paid or salaried, activity. Experience takes the form of you just engaging fellow youth in the community, educating them, getting involved in the various, projects. So that is to say, let's have database, in our constituency, know how many skilled people you have in your constituency and engage them on a number of projects. That is how. So we need to hold hands. We should not only expect them to come, because they will only come when they see there's a vacancy. But it does not mean that they are not there. Let's engage them through all these, things. And I'm happy with the current NDB 6 that talks to the youth, sport. Those are things that are closer to the youth. Let us hope now then, maybe with this new energy, youth will be able to come up with tangible, projects that will only require financial support, and of course implementation is possible.
Getting back to some of the other issues that the governors addressed, let's look at, for instance, agriculture and the possibilities and the opportunities that lie there, both for young people and I think for the communities here. How can we ensure that we're using the right models? Coming from an academic institution, sometimes we understand in principle what needs to be done, but when it comes to operational efficiencies, when it comes to being cost effective, what are some of the strategies out there, Doctor?
Agriculture is a key, a very important factor in every agenda of any nation. We cannot afford to be fed by our neighbors. We need to produce food for ourselves. We need to discourage these handouts, that we give. That is not food security. Food security is about, producing. You have enough for consumption, and at the same time be able to give, to the neighbors. Now, how do we get to that level? It is only when we all realize that even if you have not done agriculture, let's say at school, we were born for that, and we all eat. Let us, in our little, small corners, do what you can do. Plant a tree.
But that in principle, as a policy, there's certain countries that prioritize the concept of food sovereignty over food security. Like you said, food security referring more to, the government's role to ensuring that people are fed versus, the people taking over the responsibility to make sure that they're feeding themselves. Talk to us about how can we then mainstream these ideas of food sovereignty for the nation?
Let us start by supporting those that are already producing. Sometime back, I don't know whether it was in which Kavango, somebody produced quite enough cabbage. And it was reported that, of course, the person is there, could not find the market. But these are people that need, government support. Some way, globally, if you produce, even if you don't have a market, the government can step in just to pay you. That is to encourage you. But with us, we have got quite few people that are producing. We have to make sure that they are rewarded. When you see your neighbor, getting rewards, from agricultural produce, then surely you'll be next in line. And that is good. Government should have a mechanism to support those that are trying. Not only to give them money, but also to get them, a market. Not necessarily to get them a market, but create a platform, for them to get, this market. It's very, very important.
The other issue that I think the governor touched on towards the end of his speech was returns on investment from public expenditure. And I think she used the medical sector as an example. Speak to us about what is the actual challenge when it comes to the cost that government pays to procure services. And is that a systemic challenge, or is it a kind of situational, circumstantial issue? How do we improve the relationship between procurement and service delivery?
It is a good position that the government is taken to directly procure from the suppliers. But one would also have questions. Do we have the right expertise? That expertise is somewhere outside government, and that is the one that people take advantage for. At the end of the day, you end up buying something for 900, which is supposed to cost us, 200. Now, the procurement, document, when it was introduced, it was not to punish people, but to curb, corruption and to promote efficiency. But we have got challenges, and that talks to the right expertise. That's the reason why you would find medically at a certain hospital, there is no medicine. But when you go to the warehouse in Windhoek, it is there. From the ministry point of view, they can say, no, we don't have a shortage in the country. But now the question is, what happened? People down here, they know there is lead time when you request, for a supply, maybe it's a top-up. You must be able to know that, of course, it takes me 2 weeks before I get my next stock. What I have currently should last, that period. And we also know that, of course, your procurement may be committee that that approves, these things, sits only maybe once or twice in a month. This coordination is what is lacking. But then again...
So it's a systemic issue.
Exactly. Then again, I always say the police is there to keep and maintain order. But when there is when there is order, do we need police? The answer is no. But we need them for other things because that one is already there. So what I'm trying to say is, if something is not working, we must not just keep using it for the sake of following because it's a policy document. If this policy is not bringing or putting results on the table, change it. And I think that is in line with the pronouncement of the president, not business as usual. Meaning, if something is not working and it's not bringing immediate results, change it and come up with something that is free of corruption, but of course, bringing tangible results on the table.
But I'm always interested in, in the physics of this what you're talking about. Sometimes when you push and you're pushing for business unusual, in physics, there's this concept of inertia. There's something that pushes back. How do we mitigate that pushback towards ensuring that government is able to really dignify people through public expenditure?
It starts with a general, understanding of the public. For now, such resistance will only exist because only few understand and they want to take advantage.
No, but do we get sensitized in terms of a civic education nature of our personal responsibilities towards the common good, towards our collective interest, having a collective consciousness towards, as a nation, the we is more important than the me. Do we get sensitized on these things? Do we get nurtured?
Not enough. That I can tell you, not enough. And that's the reason why earlier on I was talking about, soft skills and holding hands, with the communities in which, let's say, tertiary institutions, operate. The community members should be regarded as core knowledge creators. Go out, have presentation from those that are in the industry to come and do some lectures, in the university, those kind of things. We need to do more to understand that our people are literate. Soft skills is also something that is missing. The government can be talking there on an island to say, no, look, this is what we want. But how many people understand with full comprehension? And that is an opportunity for education to play a role.
But I find that it's difficult in terms of, as we're closing, maybe you can close off by answering this, in terms of how do we make development an agenda, even at a household level, even at a personal level? How do I internalize that we live in a country where inequality is eminent, where poverty is a reality, where unemployment dehumanizes and makes people suffer? We look at the levels of suicide that are increasing. So maybe in closing, how do we at an individual level, at a family level, at a community level, regional levels, and at a national level, maybe at a SADC level or a continental level, how do we make development a personal, not just a right, but also a responsibility?
The concept of Ubuntu should graduate and be implemented at all levels. Down at the family level, we must understand that we exist because of ABC, the neighbors, and what is our position and what is our contribution, the whole ecosystem. When that is in place, everyone understands our role, individual role, and we all understand the benefits, as long-term goals. I think that will take us far.
Doctor, thank you very much, and giving us a very, pre and post analysis. You've shared, understandings and a perspective that needs to be mainstreamed as we continue to develop and mature as a democratic state.
So thank you so much.
Well, maybe there you have it. This is the SORA that was given to you by Governor Kadiva Hamutumwa that spoke about a myriad of things, particularly about getting the people of Ohangwena out of the ocean of poverty and onto an island of prosperity. Doctor spoke about the importance of taking personal responsibility to the common good, and that happens at various levels. So Namibia, I think very interesting conversations happening here in terms of our national development that is obviously being decentralized here as well. We will be broadcasting our last SORA for this year, 2025, that is Wednesday morning. I can see the excitement through my voice there. That'll be coming to you live from the Oshikoto region, that's the regional capital, Oshikoto. But Namibia, for the time that we've had, it's been a joyous day here from Enana, from the entire NBC team and myself, Patrick Sam. Goodbye.